Hey, good evening here in North America and Empowered Soul Network. It's so exciting to wrap up the day today. And to do that, we actually need to fly over across the Pacific to, I think it's the Philippines, right, George? The Philippines, and say good
Yes.
morning to George Naugle. George, it's so great to have you here. George is, for lack of a better word, the sales whisperer. And we're going to find out all about what that means, find out what his journey is. So, George, I want to welcome you here today to Empowered Soul Network.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. And yes, it's a beautiful day here in the Philippines. The backdrop or the picture in the back is actually a view from my balcony. Just love it
Oh,
here.
oh,
And it's amazing to wake up and look at that every morning while having coffee.
I'm actually ready to fly physically over there already. It looks gorgeous out there. So, George, tell us just what are you passionate about lately? What's been rising up in you?
Oh, that's an amazing question. Thank you very much, Paul. What's been rising up in me lately is, again, I would say it's journey to self to start with. And it actually is something that goes from myself, but also to my business, because we are our business, especially as coaches and online entrepreneurs. If we're not actually selling a physical product, but even then, people always want to deal with a person. They want somebody real and authentic, who they truly are. So this whole journey actually has been a journey to myself, to who I truly am authentically, and not living in a box like a lot of people. They don't even know. Well, I'll call them, say that they're sleeping. And I I guess I was called. I remember asking the universe one time, asking me, like, what am I supposed to do? And it came to me that the world's in a lot of hurt right now. And it's going to be the coaches, the trainers, and the mentors in the online space, especially in the personal development space, that is going to help heal the world one person at a time. And then it'll just trickle effect all the way through. The problem is they don't know how to sell, right? So they end up getting a job and stopping the beautiful work that they're doing. Okay. So it's my mission to find out what was holding me back so I could help them.
Beautiful.
That started with the sales whisperer being born. And it was basically to pick a name that I had to live up to, right? Because sales, typically, people are given scripts, people are given, say this, oh, handle this objection this way, handle that. You don't need to. Really, all you really need to do is be yourself, connect with the other person. Obviously, there's a framework, but connect with the other person and let they will feel that you care for them and they'll trust you, right? And that's
Beautiful.
truly what it's all about. Not everybody's going to be a client. It could be a business relationship. It could just be meeting them for the first time. It doesn't really matter at this point, like when you're meeting somebody, because we're all the same. We just have different programming. And but the true essence of who we are is exactly the same. We all want the same thing. The need to feel belonging, loved, safe. We all feel the same thing. Doesn't matter if it's a man, woman, doesn't matter the skin color. The essence is the same, always.
Beautiful. Beautiful. So, George, take us back on a little journey. What was happening for you before you began to feel that enlightenment? Where were you coming from as you were building into awakening to your authentic self?
Well, there was a lot of disconnect, unhappiness, I'll say being stuck too much in my head and just feeling like the world was happening to me instead of me actually creating a world or creating my world. And it was really disempowering, and it was truly stressful. There was a lot of stress and anxiety because I really wanted to help people, but I always came across desperate, right? And because I came across desperate to these people, I don't know what it is about our makeup, like our, I'll say the innate programming that we have, because we all have like prehistoric programming. For whatever reason, it would just repel everybody from me. Okay. So I would have people that didn't show up on calls. To be honest with you, I get maybe 1 out of 100 that doesn't show up now, which is amazing. Because I truly care about them. I truly want to get to know them. I truly would love to hear about their business, not just to sell them. No, 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 no. I've made so many partnerships already, just in the last 2, 3 months, or collaborating or whatever it is. And we've all heard the saying, our network is our net worth. And it is so bloody true, you know? And the other
Right.
thing too is, I know, and this sometimes, when you talk to another person, and again, I have a framework of how I do things, right? But it's truly about getting to know the person. So, for example, I talked to a lady probably a year ago, and she was in a bad place. I helped her a little bit, and I knew she wasn't a client of mine, but I still, because of my heart, wanted to help because I could see she was in a bad way. So I gave her some advice. A year later, we met again, and she's my client. And it took a whole year. So it's not about closing that sale. It's never about that. It's
Hmm.
always about listening, understanding, and really caring about the other person, but also to truly get to know them.
So if George were and the reason why I'm diving in here is because there's a lot of people that listen here that do have
Mhm.
that sense of something is calling them. They're not sure what it is. They feel stuck or whatever that is. If you were to be talking to George Naugle of 10 years ago or 15 years ago as you are now, as you're talking to yourself 10 or 15 years ago, what would George be saying to you from 10 years ago that you would be helping and coaching him with today?
Mm,
Good
That's an
question, huh?
amazing question. That is a good question. I just need to ponder that for a moment because I have to remember what it was like 10, 15 years ago. Hmm. Well, I think if I had to, or feel if I had to go back and tell the George of 10 to 15 years ago, first of all, I would let him know that sometimes things people do are not okay. And you need to set boundaries around it because we need to take care of ourselves. They call it self-love. I don't know. Sometimes I call it selfishness, but there's a difference between selfishness and self-centered, right? We've all heard anybody that's ever flown, the stewardess will always say, put your own oxygen mask on first. And it's because if we don't, we'll pass out before we can help anybody else,
Hmm.
right? So that would be one thing.
So it sounds like
The other
the,
thing,
yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry. Yeah.
sorry, no, go ahead.
Well, I was
What
going
were
to
you going
say,
to ask?
sounds like the George from before was so caring and loving that you know, helping everybody else, but it wasn't there was the self care. Is that fair to say? Did I hear that right?
Yes, that was one. That
Okay.
was one.
Yep.
And the other thing was, and I have actually a little story about it. And I had an Indian guru for a while, and we were in Bali, and I'm not sure if I had like moments or what was going on. I have no idea, but I remember him and his friend coming over to me, and I don't know. My mind had stopped at the time, and they came to me, and the lady spoke. I won't mention names. The lady spoke and said, "George, why do you care so much about other people? They don't care about you." And that was probably 7 years ago. And that ate at me and ate at me and ate at me. And it's like, well, maybe there's something wrong with me, right? But what I realized probably a month or two ago was that that was just her perception of the world. It's not mine. And there are people out there that if you care for them, they don't care, which is fine. I still say they're sleeping. So just that they don't really know who they are, because if they did, they'd care too.
Hmm. Hmm.
It was actually
So,
about finding the people that care, because there are so many caring people in the world. Yeah, there are.
so if the George of 10, 15, 20, 20 years ago, whatever, as far back, what do you think if that George were looking at the George of today? How would he describe the George of today? What was the perception be from there?
Mm, that's a great question. And I would have to say he would definitely be proud, saying, wow, like, for all the stuff that you went through, and you've actually become even more softer, but harder at the same time, right? Which leads me to a great little metaphor that I'd like to share with everybody if I can. We'll just say boiling water is a challenging situation. Okay. If you put potatoes in boiling water, they become softer. If you put eggs in boiling water, they become harder. Okay. The question is, have we learned the lessons so that we can become both softer and harder? Harder meaning, okay, this isn't for me. This is not my authentic self. It doesn't resonate with me. And, we'll say a boundary is set, because people like to use the boundaries, but it just doesn't feel good for me. I don't want this. So, but also having the sympathy and empathy, or not empathy, for whatever the other person is, where you can still be soft and, you know, not be, we'll say, aggressive or whatever. That's just who they are. That's fine. There's no problem.
It sounds like the George from that time ago would say that here's a balanced dude.
Yeah, balanced dude, very
Here's a guy
balanced.
that's got some good balance there of knowing when to be assertive, knowing when to be more relaxed and gentle, and so on.
Mhm.
So now tell me how that balance helps a person with sales. Because also, you said it earlier, sales is just being yourself and expressing and being able to share the facts so somebody knows what you can help them with. How does
Mhm.
that balance help with that, George?
Mm. I'm just gonna have a sip of coffee. Just
Yeah.
give me a moment. That's a great question, by the way. And rather than answering it directly, I'm going to use sales is a lot like dating. Okay. If again, hard sales, Tinder and all those other online apps where people just want to hook up and, whatever for the night, that's fine, right? It's usually empty and it doesn't go anywhere anyway. Okay. But from a dating point of view, it's always to get to know the other person, right? Because everybody knows what the end result is going to be. If you really like somebody, you'll likely move in together, you'll cohabitate, they'll be sharing time together, like the sex part of it, whatever. Like it all goes together, children potentially, right? But you don't start off with a sales script or a dating script. There's lots of guys, there's lots of, for especially because ladies typically are the ones that are waiting for the guys to come to them, although it's changing, which is good, uh, you know, which is great. Um, but at the same time, if everybody was just using a script or whatever, it would never happen. So it's just really about conversation, getting to know another person. Like, does this person resonate with me? First of all, there's nothing worse than having a client you don't resonate with. You know, you might take them if you're getting paid 10K a month or something like that, but in the end, you're still not going to feel good about it, right? I'm not sure if that answered your question or not.
Well, I mean, I think you're talking about if I'm understanding you right, you're talking about how I come into that relationship, and a piece of it is just being what I hear you saying is just being very real. It's being
Hmm.
myself,
Yes.
and getting to know that. I know a lot of coaches have their intake forms and things like that. Their discovery calls to do what I think what you're talking about, and
Hmm.
that's the whisper part of it. It's kind of like the Caesar Milan, the dog whisperer. You get to see and observe and know what they're about, and if there's even anything there to sell, there may not be
Exactly.
anything there, right?
Exactly. But it doesn't mean that you can't just have a normal conversation with somebody. If you can help them move forward a little bit, that's what we're doing in the personal development space is we're helping
Right.
people. And every time we help another person, we always help ourselves, which is
That's a beautiful thing because you kind of led me into thinking of that question is from your experience of helping people in sale and working their offers and things like that.
mhm,
What have you found that's come back to you that's elevated you even more? What how have you grown in your coaching energy?
love that. Wow, that is such a good question. And I'm so excited to answer it actually. Well, first of all, it helps me be more aware. Okay. That's the first thing, become more aware. But what it's led me to is truly being authentic, whether it's content, right? Because a lot of people don't understand their client is the person they used to be, a year ago, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, whatever. That's who their client is, right? And they're also going to vibrate on the same frequency. So, for example, when writing content, just be yourself. Most people are stuck in this crap here. They're trying to write content. Well, what are they going to want to hear? Who cares? Like who cares if everybody likes your content? It doesn't matter. But guess what? If you do it from the heart and from who you truly are as a human, the right people will come. And that's all that matters. Those are the people you want. You don't want the other ones anyway, right?
Right. So have you felt like a growth in yourself and being able to deepen the content, bring even more out of who George is, and have you seen the ROI on that, where the return on that energy is coming back because you have done that?
Yes.
Mhm.
Well, actually, none of us are, 100% perfect, or we'll say we've got it all figured out. Anybody that tells us that is absolute BS. It's not true at all. My coach is 78, and he always tells me we're still learning, George. We're all a work in progress, and he's 78. He's old enough to be my dad, and it's like, wow. So he's still working on himself at 78. I'll be 60, by the way, at the end of December. And, so it's like, wow, okay. So life is just a journey about learning. And it really is all about coming back to ourselves, right? And a lot of it's through helping other people because I learn from my clients too, believe it or not. I do
Of
all the
course.
time,
That,
right?
there's an old saying that when the student is ready, the teacher appears. My mentor used to say, when the teacher is ready, the student appears.
Yes, yes. I love that one. And the other one was, well, this is a quote from the Bible. Uh, everybody asks, what religion are you? I'm a little bit of all, but none at the same time. I know
Right.
lots of them, but I did love one saying from the Bible, and that was, the master will become the slave and the slave will become the master, or the teacher will become, the teachee, and the teachee will become the teacher. And it's just so damn true. It is so true, you know because we can all help each other in some way, all.
That, that is just beautiful. As we start to wrap up here, John, I really appreciate your kind of opening up and being authentic
Mhm.
and letting us take a peek into George Naugle, the great adventurer, And as we wrap up here, and we'll talk about how they get a hold of you here in just a minute. If
Mhm.
somebody were to ask you, George, where do I start? What's my first step that I need to begin to take myself on that sales journey to the adventure of that? What would be the first thing out of the box you would tell them to meditate on what you really want? What would you tell them? First step
The first step.
in general. I know everybody's different, but in general,
This is going to sound counterproductive for a business owner. Forget about the sale and simply focus on being present with the other person. Forget about the sale. Connect with them, care for them, love them as a fellow being. That's that would be the first step. It is so hard to do because we've been programmed like, yeah, I need to get my business going. I need all this. But you know what it actually does? It actually does push the sale away, believe it or not. But when a person knows that you want to help them and that you care for them and they trust you, they do. I've been on sales calls, people thank me. We're on a sales call, they actually thank me, which is insane, right? It's because I don't push the sale. All I want to do is empower them to make a decision that's best for them. That's it. That's all I want,
building the
right?
relationship.
Building the relationship. And, again, we'll go back to dating. If there's no connection, hey, do you want to get married? It's like, no thanks. It's like, what is wrong with you? Kind of thing, right? So it's like that in this too, because it's about relationships. It's about creating that connection, creating that alignment between two people. This is going to work, right? That has to be built first before the sale even comes. Again, content, there's many different ways of holding a sales call. But content has to align so that people reach out to us because they feel they resonate with what
Right.
we're saying. Yeah.
Beautiful. Wow, George, this has been, it's funny. This has been simple, but yet deep.
Yeah,
You know,
simple
the,
and
you
deep.
know, the energy of relationships and how you interact is just really key to everything. I when I have to help my child get dressed for school, that's a sales opportunity there. When I have to, you know, pick the restaurant, and negotiate with the spouse and where we're going to go, there's sales happening, but it's all about that relationship energy that's going. I love it. George, thank you so
Yeah.
much for sharing today. How can we get in touch with you? How can people reach out to you?
Well, I'm on Facebook. My name is George Naugle, the Sales Whisperer, and you can look me up there. I look like this. I think my picture's like this, if that helps. There's not too many George Noggles. My name is spelled last name, well, George, George, last name Naugle. You can send me a message if you want. I'd love to get, I love meeting new people. I promise you it'll probably be the best experience you ever had because there isn't selling involved. So, but
Beautiful.
I truly love helping people.
Wonderful. I mean, thank you so much for being on the Empowered Soul Network. And everybody out there in Empowered Soul Network land, that's a wrap for the day today. Can't think of a better way to wrap it than with a friend from all the way across the oceans and in the Philippines. And just take a deep breath and breathe in that scenery in the background there, and that'll be a good way to wrap up your day. And George, thank you for starting your day with us. Appreciate you.
Oh, it's my pleasure, truly, truly. And I hope this helps as many people as it can, because, like I said, when it comes to business, sales is the game you need to learn. And like you said, we're always selling. The very first sale we ever made was the day we cried and our mother fed us and we didn't even know
There you go.
it.
Well said. Well said. Thank you, brother. Stick around for just a
You're
minute
welcome.
after we get done with the recording and we'll chat.
All
Take
right.
care,
See you,
everybody.
everyone.